Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about LeBron James seeking a unique clause with the new Lakers contract, and now we're going to be talking about the latest on the FSU versus ACC lawsuit, and then we'll be discussing how the proposed college football Super League impacts college basketball's future. But before we do that, I just wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link with your question. That link is GSMCPodcast.net. This just puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also really helps the show. So
now you're getting into the flow of things.
getting in the flow. Yep. Alrighty.
That's hilarious.
So
Yes, ma'am.
welcome back to the telenovela of FSU versus the ACC. We've got some new stuff that came out with the FSU Board of Trustees in the Atlantic Coast Conference lawsuit. So,
Interesting. It's always interesting. I know a little bit about this. I'm looking forward to hearing what the article has to say.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Okay, so the latest edition of the FSU Board of Trustees versus the Atlantic Coast Conference lawsuit commenced this time in Leon County, Florida. What was scheduled to be an hour-and-a-half hearing turned into a 6-hour affair. Leon County Judge John C. Cooper, a Florida State graduate with a BA and a JD from the university, presided over the case. He denied the ACC's motion to stay, but has yet to rule on the league's motion to dismiss. The next hearing concerning the motion to dismiss will take place on April 22nd. Judge Cooper seemed to favor the notion that under broad Florida public record laws, documents should, as the Holte contest ESPN and ACC contract, should be open to viewership in the state, but not necessarily other states such as North Carolina, where the ACC first filed suit. That being said, Judge Cooper brought up the issue of forum shopping multiple times as they filed anticipatory suit the day before FSU filed suit. Forum shopping is the practice of filing suit in a desirable court to gain an advantage according to that jurisdiction's laws. The ACC argued that this lawsuit should be held in North Carolina since it operates out of that state and should adhere to its laws. However, FSU attorney Peter Rush agrees that despite the initial $572 million estimate it would take for the university to leave the conference and retain its media rights, it would cost closer to $700 million. Therefore, according to Rush, the decision regarding this case should come from the Sunshine State. This is Florida State's money, this is Florida State's team, this is Florida State's media rights, said Rush. Perhaps the biggest development came regarding media rights. The ACC acknowledged that FSU could leave the conference by paying the $130 to $140 million exit fee at any point, but would lose its media rights. From there, FSU or another could liberate the university by purchasing the media rights from the ACC.
Interesting. This is the thing that makes it real interesting here, was that last part where they say someone could purchase the media rights. So there's a lot to unpack here. First off, I'm going to touch on the whole media rights a little later on. This lawsuit, what makes it interesting is the fact that forum shopping, I never heard anyone say it's not right. Because one of the things that you do as a company, a lot of times you have a clause in their contract that all disputes are settled in this state.
Right.
Because that is a form of forum shopping. You want it to be in the state that you reside in. You want it to be in a state where the laws are more protected and geared toward you. So I never heard anyone ever call forum shopping kind of a bad thing. A lot of places, and I've seen a lot of lawsuits out there, and everyone will go and like, I'm filing in this state, and I'm filing this in this state, because that's a form. They're forum shopping. We want to go. We want to have this case heard by a judge that's going to be a lot more friendlier to what I want than what the corporation wants. So that was kind of interesting. Also, what came out of this is the fact that this overall situation has put the ACC in a rough place, where they're going to have to deal with multiple lawsuits and multiple different forums at the exact same time. That is something that is also incredibly rare. Most times a judge will rule, okay, we're going to push the court date back for this one until after this lawsuit is settled, because it's kind of like wars. You're dividing your forces on two fronts. So you can never give your 100%. All your legal team and everyone's busy dealing with this lawsuit over here, and now you're going to have to get a totally separate legal team to deal with a lawsuit over here at the exact same time, instead of having, this is my legal team, and we're focused on this. We're going to handle this business, and when that business is done, let's say it's Clemson or Florida State, when the ACC can look and say, when the Florida State issue is done, then we're going to turn our legal team loose on Clemson next. Well, this has made it so they don't have that. That's not a luxury to them. They're going to have a group of lawyers that are dealing with lawsuits in Carolina, but also in Florida at the same time. And I found that to be a bit of a surprise. But here, the one thing that there were so many surprises that came out with this one. The other thing that came out with this was the fact that it's not 150 million or 530 million.
It's big buckaroos.
It's 700 million is what they're saying they're going to have to do. They're going to have to kick out 700 million to leave the ACC.
Now, does that include the media rights as well, or is that just leaving? Okay.
Yes. So what that would be is, it would be, I think it's like 150 million or so. What is it? 150 or 130 million?
130 to 140 million exit fee.
Okay, 130 to 140 million to leave the ACC. That is like, see you later. But their clause makes it a little different, where there are two different things. You have the right to leave the ACC, but the ACC still owns all your media rights. So this would never happen. But let's just say Florida State decided, we're leaving and we're going to become an independent. Well, no one can show Florida State games except for the ACC, because they have the rights to that. And so what the ACC is saying is, listen, we're willing to negotiate with you. Yeah. And that's the key. Florida State can get out of this. But they're saying, you're going to have to pay that $140 million settlement. All right. Then you're going to have to find someone, whether it's the Big Ten, the SEC, someone that is willing to pay the ACC $500 million so that they own the television rights. So if that was the case, it could still be done, and they could negotiate it. The solution, here's a crazy solution for that is, let's just say let's say the ACC decides to leave and they go to the Big Ten, and everyone in the Big Ten is getting between 80 and $100 million. And let's say the Big Ten brought them in, they could take that and say, okay, it's 10-year deal. You're getting $50 million a year, Florida State, and we pay $50 million a year to the ACC for you coming here. We'll give you $100 million a year, but $50 million of that must be paid to the ACC every single year for 10 years for you to come to the Big Ten. That's doable. You still have to pay the $130 million, but you could work out a deal like that. That's the first thing. When I heard that they're saying, listen, you have that exit fee, that's what it is. But this is what we have the media rights for this, and it sounds like they're open to it. So whether Florida State went to, let's say, the SEC is getting about $80 million a year. You'd have to divide that over whatever time period the ACC's television contract, let's say it's 10 years. We have a contract that we're going to pay you so much a year for the next 10 years to get out of that contract. That's the key to this whole conversation right now. Mm-hmm. This lawsuit here kind of showed me the roadmap on how Florida State will leave. It also leads to the roadmap on how Clemson would leave as well. It's just a matter of, I feel like the Florida State will try to negotiate that down and maybe try to get that exit fee from $130 million down to about $80 million, and let's say another $250 for the television rights, and then they set up a payment arrangement, something like that. That's where I'm seeing it going. I know I took a little extra time because there's a second part to this one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I just wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Divorce court, man, it's hard. Goodness gracious.